So day one is over and done with. On to the second day of the Cheltenham Festival. Adam Houghton, it's your turn to run through the card for us, and I suppose we'll start off with, have you enjoyed the first day?
Yeah, it's really good. It was a great champion hurdle. I don't think we saw Douvan at his very best. I think he jumped quite as quickly as he could. But it's a great finish, team two good horses, so I don't know what you could want, but I thought the star performance was definitely footpad. I think he's something to look forward to, and they were talking in terms of the Gold Cup next year, possibly. So yeah, some really good first day.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on the ratings update for that one. Could be an interesting read with footpad.
Yeah.
So we'll jump straight into it anyway. The first race on day two is the Ballymore, formerly known as the Neptune, and we've got a hot pot here in Sam Crow. Been devastatingly good so far this season. Are you with him or are you against him?
It's a tough one. I mean, we had the 4 hot pots today, and two have come in and 2 have not. So, which category do you think Sam Crow falls in? I think he's priced up at the moment more on potential than what he's actually achieved on the track so far. But at the same time, I'm not really prepared to oppose him too heavily. I mean, you've got Next Destination, who's a really solid rival, and I expect him to give him a race. But the prices, I'd be looking to go each way on Duke de Genève. He was second behind Sam Crow last time. But he was sort of ridden patiently that day to pick up the pieces and sort of came through beating rivals. But I expect him to be given a similar sort of ride tomorrow. And I think if it turns into a real battle up the hill, I expect he could easily come through and pick up the places again, or if not even better. And he's about 14 to 1 at the minute, so I'd say he's a decent each way bet. He's likely raced. He's only had the 2 starts for Mullins. Both of them have been in Grade 1s. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more to come as he comes on with the experience.
Yeah, created a really good impression on his most recently.
Definitely.
So him each way there, Duke de Genève. My pronunciation of French names is so embarrassing. We'll jump straight into the RSA, and this looks at a really interesting contest. This with just the 10 runners, but plenty of impressive sorts in here. I mean, Presenting Percy and Monolith front the market. Are they the way that you would be looking?
Yeah. Well, they both set a standard on form. Presenting Percy, he's had an unusual preparation, hasn't he? But his second behind Gold Cup contender, our Duke at Gorman last time, that sort of stands out in the context of this race. While Monolith has the Cheltenham form from last year, finishing second in the Albert Bartlett, and he looks an even better chaser judging by his Grade 1 win last time. But at the prices, Album Photo, he was staying on best of all that day in that Grade 1. Coming second behind Monolith, he was closing on the winner all the way to the line, and yet you can back him at almost double the price. And stepping up to 3 miles, if there was one horse I thought out of the 2 would favour, I'd expect that to be Album Photo. And a bit like Duke Genève, I expect he'll be held up out the back and come through late. And again, if we've got Black Houghton in there and Monolith, they both like to be ridden quite prominently. It could be a bit of a burn up on the front end. So again, with Ruby Walsh in the saddle for the first time, he's not yet ridden Album Photo over fences. I could easily see him again coming through from the back and picking up a place. And about 7 to 1, I think he's a decent bet.
Where do you stand on Black Houghton? Because there's a lot of people have queued up at these preview nights to say that there's definitely a ceiling to him. But for all that, he's won a Grade 1, albeit fortuitously, and he keeps winning.
I mean, yeah, what can you say? You can't knock a horse like that. If you look at his form figures there, he's got 8 1s there and a 2. I mean, he has to be a great horse to own. I think Joey Mikhail's part of the ownership syndicate. Personally, he wouldn't be for me. I'd love it if he was to win, because again, he seems to be a really popular horse. But I think the Irish contenders, they just seem that bit stronger this year. Okay,
so Album Photo each way, and that's your next best of the
It was,
yeah. So we'll jump into the really easy Coral Cup. 27 runners here, one of the hardest races of the entire festival. But you've got a long shot fancy in here.
Yeah, I'd quickly give a positive mention to Wadi Rev as well. He looked like he was going to win the Fred Winter here 2 years ago when he fell at the last. And he's been lightly raced since, and he comes here off just a £3 higher mark than that day. Potentially the softer ground's a bit of a worry for him, because it was good when he was going to win that Fred Winter, and he's been bogged down a bit in 2 starts in Ireland this year. But he was quite eye-catching on his run over Christmas. And if the ground does happen to dry up a bit, he's on top on our ratings, and I would expect him to put up a big show. Yeah, but the one I like most of all is Mount Muse. He's done most of his racing of late over fences, But if you look back at his 2 outings over hurdles in the autumn, I don't think he was seen to best effect on either of those occasions. First time out, it was heavy ground, and he was giving lumps of weight to all of his rivals, and he actually did quite well to finish as close as he did in third. So I think you can put a bit of a line through that. And again, next time you're on in the Joey Fielden at Newbury, and that race, it was a bit of a joke of a race that turned into an absolute sprint up the straight. I think there was only a few lengths covering them at the line, and I don't think that would have suited him at all. I think he wants a strong gallop over 2.5 miles, which he's going to get here. And he was a really good novice last year. I think people forget that. He beat Sam Spinner on his debut. I know that was 2 miles and it wouldn't have been in Sam Spinner's favour, but that's still a good effort. And then he signed off with a second in a Grade 1 at Aintree, and I still get the feeling we haven't seen the best of this horse over hurdles or perhaps fences again later on. And I think he's still on a good mark, so could easily run a big race here.
And you went to see him, of course, a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, I did, when I went to Ruth Jefferson's. His stable name's Neil, I was told. So if he's there with a chance coming up the straight and I'm shouting, "Come on, Neil," people are thinking it's Brian Hughes on him, what's he saying? But that'll be why. So
Mount Muse each way there, or?
Yeah, potentially. I think he's about a 16-to-1 shot, best price at the moment. So yeah, if you can get quarterly odds, you're getting 4-to-1 to get a place. I think that's not bad.
Yeah, you might be able to snag a few extra places as well with being in the Coral Cup. So onto the feature of the day, the Queen Mother Champion Chase, and this has the potential to be the race of the week here because we've got Altior, who is the champion ready to be crowned. I can't think of the actual cliche, and Douvan and Min for the Mullins pair as well up against him.
Yeah, I'd be in no rush to oppose Altior here. Obviously, he's had the only problem is the slight injury scare. What's that going to come from that? But Nicky Henderson's clearly confident that it hasn't affected him at all. He was sound this morning, and if Henderson's confident that won't hamper him at all in the race, then who am I to say he won't? So he's by far the best chaser on this side of the Irish Sea. But obviously you've got these 2 Mullins horses coming over. Of the 2 of those, I think Min would be the one I'd fear the most. Despite Walsh choosing to ride Douvan, this is a proper championship race coming up against a rival like Altior, and it'd take a huge effort to be able to beat him on his first start since fracturing his pelvis in this race 12 months ago. Min, he's looked good this year. There was the slight blip over Christmas. He was first past the post and then got demoted, but in any case he wasn't at his best. But he was electric last time back at Leopardstown. And I'd see him putting it down to Altior, but you look back at the Supreme from 2 years ago when Altior absolutely stormed clear of Min up the hill, and I'd really struggle to see him reversing those placings. So yeah, it's Altior for me for sure.
A couple of quick questions on Douvan. First of all, there is a bit of confusion because he's been declared for the Ryanair, and also, do you think Faheen's performance today might have tempered some enthusiasm on him? Had Faheen had won, do you think there would have been a sea of support for Douvan?
Potentially, yeah. The bet that might have shown in the price, but for me, the 2 different horses, so that shouldn't have an effect on what to expect from Douvan. And the Ryanair, I think from what I heard from Rich Ritchie today, he was only left in the Ryanair in case something silly was to happen in the champion chase, him unseat Ruby at the second fence or something, and then not have a race, and then they wanted to have the backup option of being able to run him in the Ryanair on Thursday. But it wouldn't be the craziest thing to happen if they did suddenly pull him out of the champion chase tomorrow and run him in the Ryanair, but you'd like to hope after everything that's gone on that we're in for a real cracking race tomorrow.
Okay, so Altior the pick there, and very brave not to nap him, because your nap comes in the Marmite race, the cross-country race, and there's one you really fancy in here.
Yeah, the cross-country, it's these cross-country races, for me, I'm not a huge fan of them if I'm honest. You could, if it was they got rid of it at the festival, I wouldn't be complaining about it at all if I'm honest. But at the same time, as a betting medium, I think they're actually quite good because you can narrow the field down to about 5 or 6 horses near the top. They've actually got a decent chance of winning. You need course form's a big plus here. You've got the Last Samurai in here. He's clear top on ratings, but he's never been round there before, and that's always a question mark for the horses coming here. And in the shape of Cause of Causes, I think you've got a really solid favourite, because what can you say about him? He's won at the last 3 festivals, isn't it? And I know all those wins have come on good ground, which would have to be a bit of a concern here. But he does have form on a softer surface, and with him you can almost forget what he's done earlier in the season, because it seems to have absolutely no relevance to him when he comes to Cheltenham. Gordon Elliott has the knack of just getting him absolutely spot on for the day. And yeah, he like I say, at the Dublin Festival, his only start this season, he was well held, but he'll surely come on for that. Elliott has the second in the betting too, Tiger Roll, who had a sighter over the fences at the track in, was it October maybe? But Gordon Elliott, I watched a preview evening, and he said of the two, it would be Tiger Roll that would be most inconvenienced if it was to come up soft. And he was very positive about Cause of Causes. Again, he said that he did have a slight doubts about the going for him too. But of the two, I got the impression he was more confident about him. And for me, he's a bit of a standout here. So yeah, he'd be my best bet of the day, I'd think.
Okay, so Cause of Causes the nap in the cross country, and on to the 22 runner Fred Winter. Where do you start here?
Yeah, it's not a race I'd be particularly confident about anything, if I'm being honest. How can you be? But I'd say if I was gonna have to back one, it'd be Active Valor. He looked good when making a successful hurdling debut for Paul Nicholls. I think he was at Newcastle. He looked really quite impressive that day. And then he flopped at Doncaster, but Nicholls said there was excuses for that, so he's prepared to forgive him one bad run. And then he came up against Smart Juvenile last time in We Have a Dream at Musselburgh, and gave him a bit of a race that day, albeit We Have a Dream probably wasn't at peak fitness. But yeah, he did give him a bit of a race that day, and unfortunately we won't see We Have a Dream in the Triumph hurdle on Friday, but it wouldn't be surprised me at all to see Active Valor put up a good effort here, because I think he's got a fair mark.
Okay, Active Valor then, and one to go, the champion bumper. Now, surely you're on the same wavelengths as me here, and a 50-1 shot, ridiculous price. Said can't get beaten, can he?
I'm sorry, but I think you're alone there. I can't have it for myself. I mean, he won that bumper at Musselburgh very impressively, and in all honesty, it's a hard race to have any firm opinions on, isn't it? Because they're all lightly raced horses with ones to the name, most of them. And if for young horses, something like the Cheltenham Festival, it's completely new to them, the atmosphere and everything. So it's hard to be confident one way or the other. But the one horse who, despite being only a 4-year-old, I really like the claims of AC Milan. He's battle hardened. He won the lifted bumper here early in the year, and then went on and followed up in a similar event at Newbury, which is probably, at least on this side of the Irish Sea, that was the strongest race of its kind we've had here. And he won that quite impressively. The ground was tested, he went off on the front, and in the straight he was just forging further and further clear. So that'll stand him in good stead here, that experience, with the ground likely to be quite similar. And yeah, he gets the weight allowance of being a 4-year-old from his rivals. I think he has a lot in his favour. I mean, Mullins has dominated this race, hasn't he? He's won it 8 times, I think. And so obviously what he has in here has to be respected, with Black Bow, and I think the Tornado Fly was the one that was the money came in for early in the week. So those two would be the ones to watch in Mullins. But yeah, with the weight allowance, on weight adjusted ratings, AC Milan comes out £3 ahead of Black Bow. So yeah, I'd be hopeful that he could have that rivals measure here.
Yeah, I know we're very strong on him. I did the Q&A with Lynchy last week on Facebook Live, and he was sort of waxing about this age allowance for AC Milan and how it can have a big swing. And I think Dan Barber put him up at the preview night as well, so it's one we're very strong on.
I mean, Q-Card was a 4-year-old, I think, when he won it. And I mean, I'm not saying he's another Q-Card, but he does seem to have, like I say, a lot in his favour. So yeah, I'd be quite confident about him in the last.
AC Milan tough plenty in the Arsenal.
It's awful.
On that one, I'll leave you there. Thank you very much, Adam.
No problem, cheers, Nick.